Hello guys, and welcome back to the Expensive Coins History channel. You might be holding a simple penny right now. Maybe it's sitting in your drawer, your wallet, or even forgotten in an old jar somewhere in your home. It looks ordinary. It feels ordinary. And for most people, it's worth almost nothing. But what if I told you that one of those pennies could quietly be worth up to $137,000? Yes, a single 1-cent coin. Before we go any further, take a second right now. Make sure you're subscribed, because what you're about to hear could completely change the way you look at the coins around you forever. And trust me, by the end of this video, you might feel the urge to go check every penny you own. Because today, we're diving into two specific Lincoln pennies that most people have seen, but almost no one truly understands. Coins that have passed through countless hands without a second thought, yet hold the potential to be life-changing. Let's begin with a year that, at first glance, feels completely unremarkable. Picture that time for a moment. The world was different. Economies were shifting, technology was evolving, and everyday transactions relied heavily on coins like these. Pennies were not just loose change, they were a part of daily life. Millions upon millions of 1971 Lincoln pennies were produced. They flooded into circulation. People spent them, dropped them, saved them, ignored them. And over time, they blended into the background of everyday life. That's exactly what makes this story so fascinating. Because hidden within those millions are a few that are anything but ordinary at a first glance. A 1971 penny looks just like any other. The familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front. The simple yet iconic design that Americans have known for generations. On the back, the Lincoln Memorial stands tall, a symbol of history and legacy. Nothing about it screams value. Nothing about it tells you that it could be worth more than a luxury car or even a house in some places. But here's where things start to change. Not all coins are created equally. Even when they come from the same year, some coins are struck with absolute precision, while others carry subtle imperfections. Some are handled roughly and wear down over time, while others remain almost untouched, preserved in near-perfect condition. And then, there are the rare ones. The ones that slip through the cracks, the ones that carry tiny differences that only trained eyes or very lucky collectors ever noticed that in 1971 pennies. Certain rare characteristics begin to reveal themselves when you look closely enough, but we're talking about details so small that most people would never even think to check. The sharpness of the lettering, the alignment of the design, the depth of the strike, even the surface texture of the coin itself. These details might seem insignificant at first, but in the world of coin collecting, they can mean everything. Imagine holding two pennies side by side. To the average person, they look identical. But to someone who understands what to look for, one could be worth a single cent, and the other could be worth thousands, even tens of thousands. That difference comes down to rarity, condition, and something even more powerful, discovery. Because here's the truth that most people don't realize. Valuable coins are not always locked away in museums or private collections. Sometimes they're still out there, still circulating, still being overlooked every single day. And the 1971 penny is one of those coins that proves it. Collectors have spent years studying these coins, searching for the ones that stand out, the ones with unique traits, the ones that tell a slightly different story than the rest. And when one of those rare examples appears, the reaction is immediate: excitement, competition, demand, because serious collectors know exactly what they're looking at. Now think about this for a moment. How many pennies have passed through your hands over the years? Hundreds, thousands. What if one of them, just one, had the potential to change everything? That's the power of knowledge. And that's why this matters. Because once you know what to look for, you can never look at coins the same way again. The 1971 penny may seem common, but certain examples stand far above the rest. Coins that were struck with exceptional clarity, coins that avoided the wear and tear of circulation, and coins that carry subtle variations that make them incredibly desirable. These are the coins that collectors chase. These are the coins that auctions highlight. And these are the coins that can reach astonishing values when the right buyer sees them. But here's something even more interesting. The journey of a coin doesn't end when it leaves the mint. In fact, that's just the beginning. Every scratch, every mark, every moment in circulation becomes part of its story. Some coins are used heavily, losing their original detail. Others are set aside, preserved by chance or intention, and a select few, they remain almost untouched. These coins are often described as being in near-perfect condition. Their surfaces are clean, their details sharp, their overall appearance almost as if they were just made. And in the collecting world, condition is everything. A small difference in condition can mean the difference between a coin being worth a few cents or a small fortune. And that's why collectors pay such close attention to grading. It's a way of measuring a coin's condition, its quality, its overall state. The higher the grade, the more desirable the coin becomes. And when you combine a high grade with rarity, that's when things get truly exciting. Because now, you're not just looking at a coin, you're looking at something that very few people in the world can own. Something that stands out even among collectors. Something that carries both history and value in a way that few objects can. The 1971 penny has quietly built a reputation among collectors as a coin worth paying attention to. Not because every example is valuable, but because the right example can be extraordinary. And here's where the story takes a turn. Imagine someone sorting through old coins. Maybe they inherited a collection. Maybe they found a jar that had been sitting untouched for years. They pick up a penny.at first. It seems like nothing special, but something catches their eye. Maybe it's the shine. Maybe it's the detail. Maybe it just feels different. They take a closer look. Then another. And suddenly, they realize they might be holding something rare. That moment, that realization, is what makes coin collecting so powerful. It's not just about money, that it's about discovery. It's about seeing something that others have missed, that it's about understanding the hidden value in something that appears ordinary. And that's exactly what makes the 1971 penny so intriguing. Because the possibility is always there. The possibility that somewhere, in a drawer, a jar, or even in your pocket, there's a coin waiting to be discovered. Now, let's slow down for a moment and really think about this. If a coin can go unnoticed for decades, if it can pass through countless hands without anyone realizing its true value, then what else might be hiding in plain sight? This is what separates collectors from everyone else. Collectors look closer, they pay attention, they ask questions, and because of that, they see opportunities that others completely miss. The 1971 penny is a perfect example of this mindset. IT teaches you to look beyond the surface. To question what you see. To understand that value is not always obvious. And once you start thinking this way, everything changes. Coins are no longer just coins. They become stories. They become opportunities. They become something worth exploring. And now, as we begin to reach the end of this part of the journey, there's one question that naturally comes to mind. How much could a 1971 penny actually be worth? Because after everything we've discussed, after understanding rarity, condition, and demand, there has to be a number attached to all of this. There has to be a reason why collectors care so much. And the answer is more surprising than most people expect. While the majority of 1971 pennies are only worth their face value, the rare, high-quality examples, the ones with exceptional characteristics, have been known to reach values as high as $137,000. Yes, for a single penny. Let that sink in for a moment. 1 cent, transformed into something worth more than most people's yearly income. And the only difference is knowing what to look for. Now ask yourself this. When was the last time you actually looked at your coins? Not just glanced at them, but really looked? Because after hearing this, it might be time to start. And remember, this is only the first part of the story, because the next coin we're about to explore might be even more surprising. And now, as we move into the final part of this journey, everything begins to come together in a way that feels both surprising and deeply real. Because if the 1971 penny opened your eyes, what you're about to hear next might completely change your expectations. We're going back a little further in time, now. A year that carries weight. A year that sits right in the middle of a changing America. A time when coins were still heavily used in everyday life, when pockets jingled with change, and when no one, absolutely no one, imagined that something as small as a penny from that year could one day carry extraordinary value. The 1964 Lincoln penny. At first glance, it feels just as ordinary as the one we discussed earlier. The same familiar face of Abraham Lincoln. The same design that millions of people have seen and handled. The small D, mint mark, quietly sitting beneath the date, telling you it was struck in Denver. Nothing flashy, nothing dramatic, Nothing that immediately tells you that this coin could be worth a life-changing amount of money. And yet, that's exactly what makes it so powerful. Because just like the 1971 penny, the true story of the 1964D is not about what everyone sees, that it's about what almost everyone misses. Millions of these coins were produced. They entered circulation quickly, moving from banks to stores, from stores to pockets, from pockets to jars and drawers and forgotten places. They became part of everyday life, used without thought, passed along without a second glance, and over time, they became invisible. Just another penny. Just another piece of small change. But here's where things begin to shift, because within those millions, there are coins that stand apart. Coins that carry something different, something subtle, but incredibly important. And once again, it comes down to the details, the sharpness of the strike, the clarity of the lettering, the condition of the surface, and sometimes, even small variations that only reveal themselves under close inspection. These are the details that separate an ordinary coin from an extraordinary one. That now imagine holding a 1964D penny in your hand. You turn it slightly under the light. At first, it looks like nothing special. But then, you notice something. The details seem sharper. The surface is cleaner. The overall appearance, just a little bit better than what you would expect. That moment, that quiet realization, is where everything begins. Because what you might be holding is not just a coin, that it's a possibility. And in the world of coin collecting, possibility is everything. The 1964D penny has gained attention over the years not because every example is valuable, but because certain examples have reached levels that very few people ever imagine. Coins that were struck with exceptional precision. Coins that somehow avoided the wear and damage of circulation. Coins that remained preserved, almost frozen in time. These are the coins that collectors search for. These are the coins that stand out. And these are the coins that can command astonishing prices when they appear in the right condition. But here's something that makes this even more fascinating. Unlike rare objects that are locked away or impossible to find, coins like the 1964D penny were once everywhere. They were handled by ordinary people, used in everyday transactions, given as change without a second thought, which means, just like before, there is always a chance that one of these coins is still out there, still waiting, still unnoticed. Think about how many places coins can end up over the years. Old jars, boxes tucked away in storage, drawers that haven't been opened in decades, collections that were inherited but never fully explored. Each of these places holds potential. Each of them could contain something that has been overlooked for years. And the 1964D penny fits perfectly into that story, because it blends in so easily. It doesn't stand out. It doesn't demand attention. It simply exists, quietly, waiting for someone to notice. Now let's take a deeper look at what truly drives the value of a coin like this, because understanding this is what separates curiosity from real opportunity. First, rarity. Even though millions were made, only a small fraction meet the criteria that collectors are looking for. It's not about how many were produced. It's about how many remain in exceptional condition today. Second, condition. This cannot be overstated. A coin that has been worn down, scratched, or damaged will never carry the same value as one that has been carefully preserved. The difference can be dramatic. What might be worth a few cents in one condition could be worth thousands in another. And third, demand. Collectors are always searching for the best examples, the highest quality, the rarest variations. And when multiple collectors want the same coin, that's when values begin to rise. Now combine all three of these factors, and you begin to understand why certain 1964D pennies stand out so dramatically. Because when rarity meets condition, and condition meets demand, something extraordinary happens. That a simple coin becomes a prized possession, a forgotten piece of change becomes something worth chasing. And in some cases, something worth a life-changing amount of money. Now pause for a moment and really think about that. A coin that once bought almost nothing could now be worth more than a car, more than years of savings, more than most people ever expect to find in something so small. And yet, it's real. This is not theory. This is not imagination. This is the reality of coin collecting. And the 1964D penny is one of those coins that proves it. But here's the most important part of all. None of this matters unless you take action, because knowledge without action changes nothing. You now know that coins like these exist, You now understand that value can be hidden in plain sight. You now see that something as small as a penny can carry incredible potential. But the question is, what will you do with that knowledge? Will you ignore it like most people do? Or will you take a closer look? Because sometimes the difference between missing an opportunity and finding something incredible is simply paying attention. So here's what I want you to do after this video and go find your coins. Check your pockets. Look through your drawers. Open that jar that's been sitting there for years. And when you find a penny, don't just glance at it. Look at it. Really look at it. Check the date. Check the mint mark. Observe the details. Because you never know, that one coin could be the one. And now, as we bring everything together, let's talk about the number that has been building throughout this entire story. Because just like before, there is a value attached to all of this. There is a reason collectors care. There is a reason these coins are talked about. And the number is something that most people will never expect. While the majority of 1964 pennies are only worth their face value, the rare, high-quality examples, the ones that meet the right conditions, have reached values as high as $155,000. Yes, for a single penny. Take a moment to let that sink in. 1 cent, becoming $155,000. And the only difference is awareness, understanding, and the willingness to look closer than everyone else. Now think back to where we started. 2 pennies. 1971 and 1964 coins that most people would ignore without a second thought. And yet, within those ordinary coins exists the potential for something extraordinary. That's the beauty of this journey. That's the power of knowledge. And that's the reason you should never underestimate the value of something simply because it looks small. Because sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest surprises. And who knows, the next time you pick up a penny, you might not just be holding spare change. You might be holding a story. You might be holding history. You might be holding opportunity.